it is true about, you said, put your heart and soul into things, and that takes us, we could get into Diresta if you want.
Oh, yeah, dude. Because I had absolutely no say in that show. Not 1 ounce. Not one joke.
Really? They didn't let you write anything?
I never even I went into the writer's room once.
Really?
To say, you guys wrote a Thanksgiving episode where I cook, I have the chef's hat, I have the gloves, I have the schmuck, I'm going to try my cilantro. In real life, I've never cooked a thing in my life. I don't like to cook. I don't like to food shop. Because when I see cheese is $8 and I think it's going to shoot out of the back of my ass into the toilet in 10 hours, why spend $8
on that?
Yeah. Why? It's the way I think every time.
I am too.
Every time. I don't like to cook. And I said, do you know what I do on Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Easter? If it's at my in-laws' house, because they're from Rockaway Beach, experts on nothing. Before every holiday, as I step in the door, before we start, I go, I had a really rough night last night. In the subway, I ate something bad. I warn them. And then 5 times throughout the day, I go into the bathroom, lock the door, close the toilet, and just sit on it fully clothed for 20 minutes at a time so I don't have to deal with that.
That's a great
and
idea.
I told them in the writer's room, and 10 of these, non-binary he-she's and libtards and demon rats who they stuck me with.
Right.
Well, that's the funniest thing we ever heard. Why didn't you tell us? And I said, because you never asked me.
Right, yeah.
I had no say at all in Diresta. And about 10 episodes in, I said to the head writer, I said, where's the garage? My one-man show revolved around garage sales, the sickness, the fact that as a cop, all I wanted to do was smoke pot again.
Right.
The only thing that interests me is heavy metal.
Right, yeah.
And everyone cop thought I was an outcast and a weirdo because the metal fans are the rejects of the rejects of the rejects.
Right, yeah.
Especially when you get older and you're still into metal.
Yeah.
And he says to me, the showrunner goes, well, because I had a problem with the one-man show producers over money and who owned it. I signed a horrible contract. And they go, he goes, well, the guys that had the one-man show, I didn't want to hassle with them. So I said, dude, Disney and then Paramount bought it. They bought the rights to my life.
Right, yeah.
They bought the rights to garage sales, $1 thank you, flea market, all this stuff. And in the pilot episode of Diresta, they had my son wanting to be a cross-dresser. And that was 27 or 26 years ago.
Wow, yeah, head of the curve.
And that it was. I said that had nothing to do with my real life.
Yeah, it's not real.
Nothing.
It's not you. Yeah.
Oh, look at this, my 2 little princesses. Come here, son. Anna, sweetheart, please. You have to stop dressing your brother as a fairy godmother.
You stop talking.
So we did 17 episodes. And I did not like the show. I mean, I was getting calls from cops that are like, hey, you want me to be honest? It sucks. It sucks. It hasn't.
You didn't get control a little bit towards the end?
You're funny that you asked. They fired the head writer.
Right.
They switched it to a guy and made it a little bit more zany. And he actually looked like you. For real.
Wasn't me.
GOVS was his name, GOVS. And his last big credit was Married with Children.
Oh,
so they thought he could make it a little bit more sleazy and more rock and roll, for lack of a better. Right. And if you remember, I did a show. Concert. I went to the concert. It was supposed to be Ozzy Osbourne. It was supposed to be in the TV guide. It said Ozzy Osbourne joins Diresta.
Oh wow!
And then it was supposed to be Dee Snider, and they couldn't get either one, so they made a fictional character named Gunther Skank. And I stage dived, and everyone moved out of the way.
Right, yeah,
so it got a little zany towards the end, but it was too little too late.
Catch an all-new Diresta.
Yeah, baby.
And be the first to meet Diresta's dad.
I hope you didn't make dinner because I brought a hot dick.
His girlfriend. Then get ready to rock at the concert of the year.
Believe me, you'll be front row center.
Really, Dad? Looks like security duty to me.
You got a great view of hell.
Be there.
Rock and roll.
When Diresta leads to his new time right after Dilbert.
Will you do me a favor? What? No more favors.
All new, next on UPN.
And you had that, I forget the actor's name, the guy that played your father. He's great.
Yeah, okay, now that's Bob Costanzo.
Right.
And my dad in real life would go, I got this at a garage sale. $1, thank you.
Right.
And my dad garage sales with Vito from The Sopranos.
Oh, wow.
Because East Rockaway, Oceanside, whatever his name is in real life. And my dad would go, $1, thank you. And if you remember the show, he would go, $1, thank you.
Yeah.
So they added the father, and They tried to do what they could, but just nobody. It couldn't get it off the ground. It was on UPN. Nobody watched UPN.
Oh yeah, you and Dilbert.
That was crazy. Yeah, that UPN was trying to do what Fox did at that time and trying to,
Right.
make
Well,
their
watch
own-
this. For a few years, it was the all black network.
Right, yeah,
And then
remember.
it became the Every network, and then nobody watched it. Nobody watched it.
So
And
it was kind of set to fail.
it was set to fail. Everything was against me, and I couldn't complain because the ratings were so low that the second I complain, they'll just cancel. We don't need the hassles.
Right.
You know what I mean? Do you remember Sue Costello?
Yeah, she was on
She
the
had a
shows.
sitcom.
Yeah.
Oh, she did?
Yeah,
Okay.
Costello.
Well, this is the story I heard, and if she hears it, I'm paraphrasing. She stood up on a desk on her set, and this is my show, and you're going to do it my way.
I could see her
And there's
doing
there's
that.
millions of dollars at stake.
Right,
You're just
yeah.
a cog in the machine.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and it took me a real long time to learn that. And this is the story that goes around Hollywood. And where there's smoke, there's fire. It's got to be semi-true. A big executive, for whoever she was making the sitcom for, Costello, same time as Diresta, she was in the studio in a big hangar, standing on a desk yelling and screaming. And a big executive was showing his family and his mother and father from out of town what it's like to shoot a sitcom. And remember when we were kids, Bugs Bunny, you'd see that big, huge electrical thing that when you shut it,
Right, yeah, that
yes.
big-
the lights went out?
yeah.
And this guy said, while Sue was going, "This is my show, and you're going to do it my way. I'm a star." This guy said to his parents, "You want to see me cancel a sitcom?" And he went, "Shh,"
Yep, there you go.
and walked to a speaker and said, a mic, and said, "Everyone can go home now."
Wow.
So
yeah.
that's how quickly
Yeah.
that they'll end it. And on top
It's
of
hard
it,
to build up the power to do
on
that.
top, 2 or 3 years in,
Yeah.
and then on top of it, my wife had a drinking problem. I got to be honest. She's from Rockaway. How can she not?
Right.
And every Monday she would be a little bit toasted. We look forward to watching my show.
Right.
And she'd be a little bit toasted, and she'd go, "I didn't know you had to kiss Leela in this episode.
Right.
Leela was the wife. I didn't
Right.
know you had an old girlfriend. You never told me." And on top of hearing that, the fucking dialogue I'm hearing, the horse shit, as we would call it,
Right.
is so stupid and the jokes are so corny.
Yeah.
I'm the only human being on earth that had his own sitcom with his name on it every Monday night in $1 million house with a heated pool with his head under the pillow and his fingers in his ears. So he didn't have to hear his own sitcom and his own wife.
Wow,
And that's a
yeah.
true story.
But doesn't
Wow.
it?
Damn, man.
John, you are a better dad when you work days. I'm a better mom.
Did it help in the comedy world? Like, you know,
It led to almost 0 gigs because
Really?
nobody knew I had a sitcom. No one cared.
okay.
Nobody cared. You know, when my manager would call and say he has a sitcom, you know what they would say? What sitcom?
That's
They thought he was lying. So it didn't lead to much in the comedy world. However, in a strange twist of fate, it did. I did learn how to act. You know what I mean? I had to learn trial by fire. They
Sure.
gave me an acting coach named Larry Gilman from Rockville Center.
Nice,
And he was a
yeah.
very good guy. They paid him about $1,000 a week to hang around on the set. And even then, I found out he was a friend of an executive who just threw him $1,000 because he had it in the budget.
Right,
Everybody was making money off of everybody. But watch this. When I went over to on the set of 15 Minutes, because that was the next big thing, I said to the director, "I want to thank you, even though I had the lowest rated sitcom, that you put me in this movie." And he sat back and he went,
What's
"You had a sitcom?" Watch, this is what he said. "Had I known you had a goofy sitcom, I would have never hired you."
Wow.
wow.
So how crazy. And then watch
Dude.
this. Over the last 20 years, you're too famous for this hidden camera show. You're too not famous. You're too fat.
Yeah.
Dude, I was told once I was specific. How's that? You know what specific means?
A
You got
specific
no
height?
neck and you got a fucking New York accent.
Oh,
How many
you're
roles
too
can we
type.
give
You're
you?
too much of a type, right?
It's a fucking mind fuck
Wow,
for 25
dude.
and no steady paycheck.
What's crazy,
Right.
dude, is comics, especially in the 80s and the 90s, their whole thing was, you do your act to get a sitcom, and then the sitcom is the Seinfeld, the Romanos, the Kevin James, all these people, that's the goal. You finally
honey,
you finally reach the goal.
And it was a nightmare.
and
You
then-
know what I talk about? It's like you ever take a shower that's like a hot shower that you're having a good time in, but somehow the like you didn't call the plumber yet, and you were standing in 2 feet of murky cold water,
While you're taking a nice
and
shower.
and then on top of it, I was living like a black guy with a hit record. You guys don't even know the money problems I ran into. I made 150 grand 3 or 4 years in a row.
Right, yeah.
And then 9/11 happened. The phone stopped ringing. I got physically fat. I got gout of the psyche.
Wow.
I had an alcoholic wife. And she was spending money like crazy to get even with me.
Wow.
I literally got phone calls. Hey, we think your credit card is stolen. This is Visa. No, it's my wife. She's going up and down Ventura Boulevard, spending thousands of dollars.
So she would just do that just to annoy you?
I don't know if it was to annoy me or she had the sickness for spending money.
Just
I
as
need
an
10
addiction.
pocketbooks.
Right,
I need,
yeah. Some people have that,
yeah. But watch this. At the end of the day, and this took me years to realize, that sitcom saved me from being killed on 9/11. I was a New York City cop that was in the homeless outreach unit, and when I left the homeless unit, I reported to J Street in Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. On 9/11/2001, the homeless outreach unit building was in the shadow of the Twin Towers, and one of the engines was found on the roof.
Wow.
Now hold on.
Holy.
And I worked at 9 at night to 6 in the morning as a transit cop for 7 years in the homeless unit, and I would sleep in the precinct till 9 a.m., and then go do a security job, go to an acting lesson. You know what I mean? If I had to stay in New York City instead of driving back to Harriman. And who knows, I might have been woken up in a cot at 9 and said, we got to go.
In there
I don't think I know I'm the kind of cop, I wouldn't have gone in that building, but I would have been outside helping people.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then
or worse, standing two blocks away doing nothing, and then the building fell on me.
Yeah.
Or get cancer of everything on earth, 20 years later. So that sitcom saved me.
So you were still doing the sitcom during that?
Not at all. No, the sitcom was...
But you were already done.
No, I'm saying
Hollywood.
I'm saying the fact that I moved to Hollywood.
Right.
And let's go over the 600. I got a $600,000 TV deal, which a lot of people think that's it. Your life, you're set for life. I had such a squabble with the guys that did the one-man show. I signed a contract this thick without showing it to a lawyer.
Oh wow!
So when Disney showed up with $600,000, guess what? They owned 90% of my life story, and I owned 10.
Oh my God!
That's what I signed. So I had to settle out. I went from being a flat broke cop eating the sandwiches that we gave the bums, our clients, to my first check was $50,000. So now I paid all my debt, parking tickets, everything.
Right.
Got out of debt. Tried to fix my credit, and my credit was so bad I couldn't even get a cell phone.
Wow!
And even though I had $50,000 in the bank, you had to have some kind of credit. And to make a long story short, I had to write a check for $250,000.
Wow!
To the one-man show to get because again, Disney could just go forget. We don't. If someone else owns this, not him. We don't need the hassles. He's not that important.
Right.
And then, out of that number of $600,000, agent 10, lawyer 5, like they took it off to $600,000.
Right.
Before taxes. Then I had to write. Yeah, everyone gets on that top number.
So you come out
with not a lot. Not even, dude. I had to write $250,000 less.
Yeah. So
I'm just saying, a lot of people.
Damn.
And then to answer your question, people think when you get a sitcom, your dick is always hard, your bank is always full, your wife's happy. You can have no sadness.
Yeah.
And I had I'm on a show that I'm not proud of.
Yeah.
And I learned this very quickly. If there's 60 people on that set, there's 59 people. I could care less if it gets canceled. They go to another show.
Right.
Guess who gets left unemployed?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. And then if you're on a show, and then is that a true stat that you're the lowest rated sitcom ever?
Okay. One of the on one episode, only 600,000 people watched, and that turned into the lowest rated sitcom in the history of TV on a network. So on any given night, Don Lemon gets 50,000 people, but that's cable.
Right.
So it was in the New York Post. It was one triangle. 1 inch by 1 inch. It said, anyone ever, what happened to New York's funniest cop? Diresta on blah, 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 date October of 1998, became the lowest rated sitcom in the history of TV. And on one of the radio stations in New York, they changed, remember the movie, the bowling movie with Woody Harrelson?
Oh, yeah. I love that
People
movie.
got Munsoned.
Yeah, they Munsoned.
They
right.
changed it to people got Dirested.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Shit.
So how quickly,
Yeah.
everything people think I'm rich and famous, and they're using my name as a butt of a joke. My brother Joey faxed me the article. I brought it into the writer's room. 6 he, she's, and fags, and I mean that in all the nicest way. I just mean happy people.
Right, yeah.
And I showed him it. They all passed it around, and the head writer goes, "What kind of brother would send this to you?" Completely missing the fact that they wrote the lowest rated sitcom.
Yeah.
And here's the big hassle I'm overpassing. The people at UPN wanted the John Diresta that's sitting here.
Right.
The guys at Paramount wanted a family sitcom.
Right. Yeah.
And that was the dichotomy of, at the end of the day, Paramount owned the show Diresta and only lent it to UPN. You dig what I mean?
Right,
Or
right.
whatever, sold it.
Right.
They owned it. So when I don't know if you ever saw my stint on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. I did Couch.
Yeah.
And killed it.
Yeah.
A guy doesn't pay his fare. Come on, buddy.
Right, well, that's what other guys did. I didn't care. Go ahead, sir. No, I didn't care.
Would you let people go in?
Yeah, people, hey, officer, can I get it for free? It's Christmas Day. Go ahead. A year later, it's New Year's Eve. Go ahead. 6, 7 years into it, it's Lincoln's birthday, Groundhog's Day, Secretary's Week. Come on. Everybody go. I'd hold the doors open.
And I heard the next day at UPN, Dean Valentine, who looks like you, Dean Valentine, they popped it in. It was 7 minutes. They shut it off, and he looked at his 2 or 3 executives and said, "That's the guy I hired.
Right.
What's this sitcom they're giving me?"
Right.
You know what I mean? Even on the pilot, the director said, "You got to smile more." I said, "Dude, I'm a transit cop. I hated everything about it."
Right.
He said, "Well, now you're on a sitcom." And then in the pilot, they put me in a $1,000 leather coat. And I said, for the 5 years I was coming up as a comedian, and you guys don't know, we had 3 kids right in a row. 9 months after we were married, 11 months and 11 months.
Wow, yeah.
My wife's coochie was like a midget clown car.